All right, section 6.6, inequalities in two triangles. Okay, there was a short exploration video that you needed to watch before this one, so if you haven't watched it, please stop this video, go back and watch that one first. Our objective in this lesson is to compare measures in triangles. So here we're going to have multiple triangles. In the last section, we were just comparing angle measures in one triangle. Okay, and then saw some real life problems using the hinge theorem. We'll have one new theorem today and its converse. Okay, so from the previous video you watched, you kind of saw the gist of the hinge theorem. But here's the hinge theorem in formal words. If two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another. So here in this triangle, in my example here, we have XV here congruent to RT. Okay, and the other side here we have VW congruent to RS. So we have two congruent sides. And the included angle of the first is larger than the included angle of the second. Then the third side of the first is longer than the third side of the second. Okay? It's a lot of words. Basically what this is saying is if we have two sides congruent. So we have XV congruent to TR and the other side, WV, congruent to SR. Okay, and we know that angle V, our included angle here in between the pink and the green, is greater than angle R. And do you see why I put the angle mark through there so we can use a greater than sign? Okay, this is our greater than sign. Then we know that the side opposite the greater angle, WX will be greater than ST. Basically, if you have two sides congruent, if the included angle on one is bigger than the other, then the opposite side on the one is bigger than the opposite side on the other. It's very similar to that side angle side idea in that if we know the two sides are congruent symbol, for the sides, the angle in between, if this angle in between is bigger on one, then the side opposite, the bigger angle, is going to be bigger than the side opposite on the other. Okay. Okay, so basically then we would know that this side is bigger than this side. This doesn't help me know what the sides themselves are. All I know is that one's bigger than the other. Okay, so basically what the converse does is the converse again starts with two sides congruent, but it flip-flops the angle and the side. Meaning if I have still those congruent sides, so here I still have congruent side, and then congruent side. So again, we still have those congruent sides. We have BC congruent to EF and AC congruent to DF. And then now we know AB side, this side AB is bigger than DE. Okay. From that, then we know that this angle, I know angle C then, is going to be bigger than angle F. We should probably put the measure of angle C, the measure of angle F. Okay. So basically what it's flip-flopping is here, if the angles are bigger, then the side's bigger. Here, if the side's bigger, then the angle's bigger. Okay. Just depends on which way you're going for that hinge theorem, or is it the converse of the hinge theorem? Okay, so here in example one, if we're given that segment ST here, S to T, is congruent to segment P to R. Okay, so we have this congruent side. So we have S to T congruent to P to R, but we also know here that PS is congruent to itself. So we have our sides here. So we have one side congruent to one side, and then we have this third side congruent. Okay, and now if you notice, we don't know anything about the angles in these two triangles, but we do know this opposite side. We know that PT is bigger than RS. Okay, if side PT is bigger than RS, that tells me this opposite angle here, then I know angle S is bigger. Well, I can't just call it S. We should probably call it angle TSP. TSP is gonna be larger than angle RPS. RPS. So this angle here is going to be bigger than this angle over here. Okay, and so since we went sides to angles, that tells me it's the converse of the hinge theorem. Okay, so we know angle TSP, well, they go PST, PST, same thing. And RPS, they went SRP. They just went backwards. SPR, by the converse of the hinge theorem. Okay, 2 more examples. Okay, here example 2. Given that we know JK is congruent to LK, so we have JK here congruent to LK, so there's one side. We also know here that KM is congruent to itself. Okay, okay, and then we get this included angle. This included angle JKM. We know angle JKM is greater than angle LKM. LKM, it's greater, because this one's 64, this one's 61, which means that the side on this triangle, this opposite side, JM, will be larger than LM. And since we start with the angle and go to the side, that would be by the hinge theorem. All right, one last example. We're going to have to draw a picture for this one, so get out a straight edge if you don't have one. 2 groups of bikers leave the same camp heading in opposite directions. Each group travels 2 miles, then changes direction and travels 1.2 miles. Group A starts due east and then turns 45 degrees towards the north. Group B starts due west, then turns 30 degrees towards south. Which group is farther from camp? Okay, so first we know it goes north-south, then west-east. Okay, that's how normal. So let's go ahead and let's start. I'm going to take advantage of this huge space. Here, let's call this camp. Okay, so to get the directions that they're heading, let's go ahead and let's start here. Group A starts due east and then turns 45 degrees towards north. Okay, so they're heading due east, which would be this direction. So this is the direction they're heading. And each group travels 2 miles. So they're going to go this way for 2 miles. So let's go, they end up here. So this would be 2 miles here. And then due east, and then turns 45 degrees towards the north. So how bearings work? If they're heading this way and they go 45 degrees, it's going to be 45 degrees in this direction. So this right here is going to be my 45-degree angle. And then they travel, then they change direction and travel 1.2 miles. So now they're going to go 1.2 miles in this direction before they end up, I don't know, let's say here, their final destination. Okay, so they had 2 miles, 45 degrees. So that 45 degrees has to be measured from that horizontal up. Okay, because we're going east, turning north. Be careful that you don't make this a 45-degree angle, because it'll goof that problem up. Okay, so this is, so let's say, so then Group A, pink team, is going to end up right here. Okay, all right, now Group B starts due west and then turns 30 degrees south. So they're going to start heading this opposite direction. Okay, so they're going this way. Again, they're going to travel 2 miles, so let's say to here. So again, that's 2 miles. But then they're going to turn 30 degrees towards the south. Well, south is down this way. So, but they're heading this direction. So 30 degrees would be measured like here, 30 degrees that way. Okay, and then again, they're going to travel for another 1.2 miles. So they're going to end up, they stop there, change direction, and now they're here. Okay, so it asks, which group is farther from camp? So we're looking for, again, this distance to camp. So really we're looking, which one of these is bigger? Okay, is this distance bigger right here? Or is this distance bigger right here? Is the pink bigger than green? So this is group A over here, and this is group B. Okay. Well, if you notice, this first distance is both 2 miles, so these are congruent. The second distance, this is 1.2 miles, so this would be congruent to this 1.2 miles over here. So really we have our two sides. We're needing to compare this angle in here. Well, this is 30 degrees because they turned 30 degrees towards the south. So I'm wanting to know, what is this angle in here? Well, if we cover up a bunch, if we notice here we have a straight angle, so that means this has to be equal to 180. So if this is 30, 180 minus 30 makes this angle 150 degrees. This angle is 45. 180 minus 45 is 135 degrees. Okay. So which angle is bigger? Because we have our two congruent sides. We have a side and a side. Now the included angle, the one across from the included angle, it's which group is farther from camp. Well, the bigger angle is this 150. So this side, the green side, is going to be bigger than the pink. So group B is farther from camp. Okay, and here, this is point C. Let's give these some values: A, B, C, D, E. Okay, and how do we know that? Well, we know that since angle BAC is greater than angle BAC is greater than angle EDC. And so since the angle's bigger, the opposite side's bigger, and using the hinge theorem, we know then that, and using the hinge theorem, we know BC would be greater than EC. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead and that's it for the section. Go ahead and write your practice down, and good luck.